This is just a normal PowerPoint deck. I took some of these pictures myself and put together the process of how to build a pizza. So if you see here, we have this brand new Mix tab. This is where PowerPoint gets all its new special powers. You can record the lesson. You can insert quizzes, videos, and apps, do some screen capture, preview what you've sort of created, and then upload to the cloud. So it's a very simple process. When I hit the record button, I end up in the lesson recorder experience. So it's a little dark. It might take the webcam a minute to zoom in on me. So you get a little preview of what you will look like on the webcam. You don't have to use the webcam. I will just for demonstration purposes. But you can adjust your mic and then make sure you look nice in the frame before you start recording. So here I'll just start recording a short video to introduce myself. I'll pick a pen color so people can see me right on the screen. So say, hi, I'm Isaac. I'm going to show you how to build a pizza in the next few steps. This is me right here. So it inserts the little video thumbnail in the corner. This is PowerPoint, and I can move things around. So you saw I kind of accidentally marked over the video, and rather than re-record, I'll just jump back into PowerPoint's main view, and you can see ink works like any other object in PowerPoint. I can drag it around, I can stretch it, I can shrink it, and edit very easily without having to re-record. I can resize my video too if I want. So there. So I go back to the lesson recorder and start my next slide. OK, so the other thing is, all the bells and whistles of PowerPoint still apply. I can do animations. So in this step, if I'm going to talk about ingredients, I can say, well, the first thing you need is dough. And you can cheat and buy it at the store, or you can make your own. Now, the nice thing about PowerPoint is you can embed links. So links work just as you would expect. So right here, people can click my link and get a recipe for making their own dough if they want to go the hard way. Next, you would talk about, well, you're going to need some sort of sauce. Again, you can cheat and buy it in a jar. Or you could dice up some tomato, onion, garlic, add some olive oil, and make that your base. And then finally, you want some sort of toppings and protein. So in this case, we'll use Sopressata, grated mozzarella, some oregano and crushed red pepper. And if people don't like that recipe, they can look at a great menu right here. So there, I've just recorded step 2. So you can, again, preview. PowerPoint still apply. I can do animations. So in this step, if I'm going to talk about ingredients, I can say, well, the first thing you need is dough. And you can cheat and buy it at the store, or you can make your own. Now, the nice thing about PowerPoint is you can embed links. So links work just as you would expect. So right here, people can click my link and get a recipe for making their own dough if they want to go the hard way. OK, so that's kind of the basic authoring. And I can skip to the next slide and get to the actual steps.
So every slide is its own presentation.
So the question is every slide its own presentation? So yes, you can record slides individually, but you could also record a string of slides together. I didn't have to stop between slides. If I'm on a roll, I could just keep going.
So you could go back and pick out slide 5, slide 10, and drop it into another presentation.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, so I'm actually using a clicker to advance my animation just like a normal PowerPoint presentation.
So literally, as you set this up, you're going to walk through this just the way, the way you're going to talk with it, the way the animation is going to pop up, the way you're going to draw on the screen as things happen. You're going to do it all in one shot, not piecemeal together.
For animations, you want to do that before you record. You can actually go back and change image assets if they're not animated. Like if I don't like the background, I could swap that out without re-recording. If I want to change the theme of the slide, I could do that. If I want to change the text on the slide, I can do that without re-recording. So yeah, we do know where the slide boundaries are. So the question was, basically, how do you know where the slides change, right? Yeah, so we keep track of where the slide boundaries are because in our lesson player, you might have noted there were some timeline markers that showed exactly where the next slide is. So editing the audio. Yeah, so PowerPoint has some basic audio and video editing tools. So if I cough at the beginning or I have a long pause, I can trim the lesson video just as you would any other embedded media in PowerPoint. Yes. So that's so the question is, can I record things besides basically what's on the slide? And that's why we have a built-in screen recorder, so you can record any other app from within the tool. This is the lesson recorder view. We surface that tool sort of in the Mix tab.
So if you go outside the app, then what would stop you from using this to maybe build a video of how to use an application? Would be no slides at all.
That is a so yes. The question is, would you use this tool to build a lesson about how to use another application without building slides? Correct? Yes, you could do that too. You would have one slide, which would be the video, or you could break it up into slides where you're showing different steps, so people could skip through your training. So yeah, it has uses beyond education, definitely like corporate training, how-tos, things like that. It's super useful for those. So continuing on with pizza, I will, give another quick example. We've already shown some animation, but one thing we found is kind of effective is just keep the students kind of following along with the lesson. So, I would, as I say, first you're going to need an oiled pizza pan. I would check that step off when I'm done. Tell people to roll out the dough and what that looks like when they've done it successfully, and check that step off so they're tracking you as you're talking. Maybe add the sauce, and we'll check that step off. Sprinkle some grated mozzarella on top, and then add your suppressant and spices, and you're done. And this would be a good time to say, well, if you have guests and you want to distribute the pepperoni in a sort of fair way, you might suggest cutting like this, or maybe like, that. Now, that's not really fair, but, suggest a cut before you move on. So, again, I've sort of created that part of the lesson. I'll skip ahead a bit. And finally, you say, cook this in the oven for 12 to 15 minutes at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's it. That was the lesson. I could record something here, or I could just leave this up as a stop slide, so when they get to this point, it doesn't advance on them. They'll have the instructions right in front of them. Now, if I really want to make a career of pizza making how-tos, I would probably want some way of getting my audience feedback on, well, what lesson do you want to see next? And be able to collect that data and make my next lesson relevant to my audience. So one thing we can do here is add a quiz or a user poll. So here we have this quizzes, videos, and apps button, and I'll add a multiple response poll. This is sort of this is the standard Office apps model. So whenever you add a new app, in this case a quiz app, to your PowerPoint, it'll ask you to trust it, since you are sharing data with that app. And so I can ask something like, what's your favorite pizza? Ooh. So maybe we start with the standard and something like vegan. And we can add a few more fields and say, I don't know, anchovies. Suggestions from the audience? Blue cheese? Plain cheese. All right, yeah, that's better. There we go. And then I can get a quick preview of what the student will see, and my poll is done. So the next step after this would be to simply upload this to the Microsoft Cloud. So we give you a few quick steps where we'll check in the background to make sure that these slides are valid and will render correctly in the cloud. We'll look for things like ink off screen and things like that would cause problems for students. We'll offer to make a video as well as the PowerPoint in the cloud so that it can be played back on even more devices. In this case, I'll skip creating a video and just move right along. prompt me to sign in with my Microsoft ID, Google ID, Facebook ID, or org ID. So you can share with a variety of ID types. And one more click, and it's uploading. So that's it. That's the publication process. So while that is uploading, sometimes it takes a little while, I'll show you something else, which is we saw the Ohm's Law lesson, and I mentioned that we are collecting some analytics about how students are actually watching that lesson. So in this case, we shared this lesson out across the company and got 1,000 people to take the lesson and take our quizzes. And you can see, pretty good. We started out pretty good, but by the time it gets to the quiz, you have over 50% drop-off rate. So that's not good. You probably want to figure out how to refactor the lesson and make it more relevant or more engaging so people actually want to finish the lesson. We also see things like quiz analytics. So we can see of the people who actually managed to take the quiz, only half of them are getting the answer right. So roughly half are taking the quiz, half again are actually getting it right. That means only a quarter of your students are actually going to pass this lesson in any meaningful way. So it's really easy to start from an existing mix and enhance it, move things around, and try to fix problems that you're observing in analytics. So here's an example. So we actually have a great partnership with CK12 and Khan Academy. So if I want to go here and add to my mix, maybe some more information at the front of the lesson, I could go down here and say, OK, I want to add the CK12 app. And they sort of do their own search experience for finding relevant content. So I'll tap on the search bar and say, I want something about Ohm's Law. And they return a number of results. It looks like another lab activity and a couple articles. So I'll insert an article here that might help students understand the concept a bit. So, and I get a nice preview. I can scroll through. You can see there's an embedded YouTube video here, as well as some text and an actual worked example of Ohm's Law in practice. So the other thing I might do is move a quiz earlier in the lesson. I'll say, let's make this true, false. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, so the question was, could you put the quiz at the beginning of the lesson? Absolutely. These are just slides. You can rearrange it. After I add a quiz, I can move it to the beginning of the deck. I can move it to the end of the deck. If I don't like how the number of students, if I don't like the drop-off rate, I could move the quiz right to the beginning or make it the second slide. You can have as many quizzes as you want. OK, so here's a true-false question. I mark true as being the correct answer. And you can preview this as well. So pretty simple. And to answer your question about where this can go here, I'll just move it to the beginning. So there's another question. They're per quiz. But you can drill down per student, too. So you could see, yeah, so you could see all the quizzes that one student took in the lesson and how they performed. Yes? So the question is, are we SCORM compliant, or can we work with a learning management system? This is work we know we have to do. We're trying to make sure we cover the most numbers of students with whatever we adopt. So that's sort of what we're looking at right now. It's something we're certainly planning. OK, so the lesson is stored in Azure in our service. The source code is always PowerPoint. So all of the recording, the quiz information, that travels with PowerPoint. So you could share that deck with a friend. They could upload it for their own class's use and share it with their class, so they wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel.
So I can record it and put it on our SharePoint, and we can use it from there.
So not from. So you can edit it from Share. You could share it on SharePoint and do edits to the lesson. You would still need to publish it in order to share out for it to work in the lesson player, and to get analytics and things like that. The common case with SharePoint is you would share a link in SharePoint so that if you wanted to provide a list of lessons for people to take, yeah.
Is there any plans to make it so it can be more private, so if you had intellectual property or learning or anything that you want to keep in-house, that you can have that protected?
Sure. So right now, you can restrict. You could do completely private, meaning only you can see the lesson. You could limit it to your org ID, and right now that's the lowest level of granularity we offer. This is another case where we know there are asks for lots more granularity, and we're just trying to understand. The reason we're doing a customer preview is to understand, how granular do we need to be for customers to find this useful.
You need to have PowerPoint 2013 on the machine that someone who's using.
No.
Going through this, they don't have to have any software.
No, you need PowerPoint 2013 and our free add-in for creation. And then to take the lesson, they could use pretty much any device with a modern browser. And in preview, we have some limitations on exactly which devices get which experience. Some get just video, and some get the interactive version. Our intent is to support more and more devices.
When you do, what does it cost? I mean, when I create 100 lessons, what does it cost?
So we currently don't charge for the service for hosting the lessons. It's one of those things, if someone wanted to run an entire university off of this, we would be thrilled, but we may want to have some discussion about, volume and things like that, yeah. Okay, so I think our uploaded lesson probably completed. So when it's done, you get this nice little link to your management page, so you can go share the lesson, get a link to share it with students. So the one with the new tag is the one that I just did, and I can go play. So say, hi, I'm Isaac. I'm going to show you how to build a pizza in the next few steps. This is me right here. PowerPoint still apply. I can do animations. So in this step, if I'm going to talk about ingredients, I can say, well, the first thing you need is dough. If you remember, I said there are links that work in this experience. So right here, I can click on the make your own link, and I get the dough recipe on all recipes. Right here, people can click my link and get a recipe for making their own dough if they want to go the hard way. I'm sorry? Right, I paused to, yeah. So the question was, will the lesson pause automatically when I click a link? And the answer is no, it will run in the background tab unless you pause it yourself. Okay, so I think we've covered pretty much everything in the demo. Switch back here. Yes? Yeah, so they could go and set it private when they're done. They could leave it public forever if they wanted to. There's no, it's up to the author, like how they control it. They could go delete it. Usually, as I've created these lessons, I tend to have a lot of drafts, and then I go back and clean up the drafts. Okay, so to get started, all you need is the free Office Mix add-in for PowerPoint 2013. Next you'll want to, you can start with existing decks. You could also start with just a blank deck and do sort of Khan Academy style inking on a, treating your slide as a whiteboard. We see a lot of teachers doing that. You could also, record presentation delivery in that lesson recorder experience that I showed you, and it's pretty simple. It really is just like getting in front of a camera and presenting your deck, or getting in front of a microphone and presenting your deck. And then add interactive content. So we have great partnerships with CK12, Khan Academy for sort of K through 12 content. We're certainly looking to add more partners in other areas, both academic and non-academic. And then, once you're done sort of creating your lesson, just, a few clicks and it's in the Microsoft Cloud to share with your colleagues or students. Then we do get a lot of questions like, so what exactly is, a mix? And the best description is it looks like video, but it's actually PowerPoint hosted in the cloud. So this is PowerPoint Web Access Client. We've added a video and ink layer that is all coordinated so that the ink happens when the audio is happening at the right time and at the right point with slide animations and things like that. And then we add the playback controls, so you have that nice lesson timeline where you can skip between slides and look for interactive elements along the timeline. You can also do things like speed up playback, so if you just want to skim a lesson, you can play it back at 2x speed. And of course, we also have an API for embedded quizzes and labs that pretty much anyone can use to create lab apps for Office Mix.